Perfect. First of all, good evening, everyone. Again, welcome to this year's introduction for the injury education workshop. I've left the waiting room open, so if you keep hearing some things in the background, that's people joining, just as an awareness as well. One last time that this presentation is recorded, just as a heads up. So if you would like to obviously leave, more than welcome, but also you can access it at a later date. Again, today should be only about 30 minutes or so, a bit of a refresher of information from the Springs webinar, but myself, Coach Tommy, Coach Danny, who's on the call as well, we thought it would be a fantastic opportunity to get ahead of the game, especially with the injury prevention stuff and the education around reporting injuries at the beginning of the year. And obviously we've made some really good advances within this department over the past 6 to 12 months. So obviously we want to share those details with our members as well. So without further ado, I'll progress through the slideshow here. As I mentioned, today is really about the education of for you guys of the stuff that we do offer here at the club. A lot of it around our expectations from the coaching staff and obviously the directors as well on the reporting of injuries, but also the vehicles that we have in place and the platforms that we've invested in heavily to obviously provide the players a sufficient platform to obviously recover from their injuries, report them adequately, and stay on the field as much as possible. So a bit of an overview of what we're going to do today. We're going to go through our resources and partners, touch a little bit about core physical therapy and Nemours sports orthopedics, go through our step-by-step process of reporting injuries, and then all the way up to the return to play process. And then also we have a guest today, Jenny Nemours. She's coming in to give us a bit of an overview, more of a parental education of how to use the platform of AIMS, which is our athlete incident management system that we invested in last year at the beginning of 2021. And this is obviously a platform that we're really passionate about, and obviously keeping you guys as parents, players, coaching staff, athletic trainers and doctors in the loop of all the details surrounding injuries. So as we move briefly on, this is a kind of a bit of an overview of the medical resources that we do have available at the club. Many of you who have obviously been at the club for a number of years are aware that we have athletic trainers at every park, whether we're playing or playing in games or practicing. And our preferred partner who we've partnered with over the last several years now is Core Physical Therapy, based in obviously Northeast Florida, and they have a number of places that they can utilize as third-party venues that we don't always have to use at the facilities themselves. When we are practicing and when we are playing, obviously our three main facilities are Patton Park, Davis Park, and Austin. When we are playing at Patton Park, the athletic trainers are situated in the southernmost trailer by the stadium field. When we're at Davis Park, it's in the athletic field house. Ed Austin is in the main office by Field 5. And each athletic trainer, this is another big point that our partners really wanted to push home. They'll be at the park an hour before practice and games. So if a player is in need of any treatment or reporting injuries, wanting to check in with a trainer, obviously for any medical advice, this is the obviously the preferred thing to go early to practice. Obviously, they can sometimes get stretched thin when they're working across a number of teams, players, and obviously levels throughout the club as well. And sometimes we only have one. We are trying to get two per park per practice night, so that's obviously something that we're working towards. but that hour window is obviously a big window if anyone's needing to prepare for practice or get evaluated prior to practice as well. Coro is also our preferred physical therapy service outside of the club. So any injuries that the players are experiencing or get reported, we would refer to them to our Coro partners. If anything is a bit more severe than the physical or soft tissue injuries that we typically see, and maybe they're more of a structural injury, such as a sprain, an X-ray needed, anything like that, then we refer to our Nemours physicians with the sports medical department that they have, and this is where obviously you can start seeing a bit more of a highly structured and medical service, whether it's regarding physician referrals. The third part, excuse me guys, can we just everyone mute ourselves if possible? Thank you. So the third partner you see down here, which we're going to go into a bit more depth today, is AIMS, and you'll probably hear myself talk about this a lot tonight, and that stands for Athlete Injury Management System. And this is something that we put in place at the beginning of 2021, and it's essentially so we have a digital database of all of our injuries and the logging of injuries, and then keeping all of the parties that need to know in the loop. So for example, if a player gets injured, it's very, very difficult to be able to trust that player, whatever age they are, whether that's U11, where we start this program up, all the way up to U19, to be able to produce that information again to the appropriate people, whether that's been parents, doctors, or physiotherapists. So what we decided to do is engage with AIMS and be able to update all of the stakeholders, being coach, parent, player, doctor, and the AT, to be able to be on the same page with that same information. So this is what we're going to go into a bit more depth today. As we proceed into Nemours, unfortunately, we don't have any of the members from Nemours Sports Medicine on today, so I'm going to try and do my best to do them justice. As you see, this gentleman here on the right-hand side, this is Dr. Rush. He's probably one of the foremost experts within youth sport medicine within our region. He's previously worked with US youth soccer national teams. He's also been in the military and been a military surgeon in the orthopedics as well. One thing I wanted to put this slide first, guys, is to make sure that you guys, if you have a pen or paper or your phone handy, is to put these numbers down, and touch wood that none of our players do experience any severe injuries. But the partnership that we do have and the relationship that we have with Dr. Rush and his colleagues is second to none, really. And they actually provide their direct line for any referrals or appointments that need to be made. And then also Dr. Rush gives us his direct line as well as his email in case anything is needed on an urgent basis. So if anyone wants to take that information down, I'll leave that up for a good minute or so and talk a little bit about what they do before going on to the next slide. So obviously, when we're talking about more of the orthopedic stuff, it's a very delicate balance between obviously respecting the pediatricians that obviously the boys work with on a regular basis. Someone's calling me. This is the pediatricians, but also balancing it with an expert in the field of sports, and understanding what the needs and the criteria for returning back to play is super necessary. And Dr. Rush and his team are obviously the experts in that field as well. So a couple of the common injuries that they treat over at Nemours, whether that's knee injuries, shoulder injuries, the foot and ankle fractures, or any other medical issues, including cardiology, pulmonology, GI, or neurology. They also go into concussions. I know a lot of our programs already have to do a lot of our baseline testing to register for the league. But if we do experience, obviously, concussions, we can use them as obviously the experts to do any baseline testing and also post-concussion evaluations and treatments if the symptoms are prolonging. What sets Nemours apart, and again, this is the one that we want to push home as much as possible, is that they're the experts in caring for young athletes. These are not just young people, especially the way that we're obviously training these boys up to 4 times a week, multiple games in a weekend. Sometimes the needs of the athletes are sometimes much different to the regular adolescent and child. So understanding the needs of the game and the sport is super important. And they also have the state-of-the-art treatment for older teenagers as well. So given a bit of an overview now of Cora, and then this is kind of the more of the acute injuries, and then also some of the soft tissue stuff that we see more in contusions and muscular injuries. This is an overview of how many sites that we actually have here in Northeast Florida. And this is fantastic. Obviously, not only can the players get treated when they're on site with us at JFC, but if they have time and are referred to, they can see any one of our Cora trainers at any of these locations, going from Clay County of Fleming Island, multiple in Duval, okay, a couple in Flagler, 4 in St. John's County, with a couple coming soon in both Orange Park and Kingsland. So obviously their outreach is quite far as well. So it's not always having to come to Patton Park, Davis Park, or Ed Austin to have that treatment or that one-to-one experience with the physical therapist. So this is probably where we get a bit into the details and the weeds of the injury process now. I understand that some of you guys might be on your phones and tough to see this, but what we like to look at the injury process all the way from the beginning where the injury occurs on the field. We look at into 4 phases: 1, 2, 3, and 4. And it's kind of like a flow diagram for us. And I'm a bit geeky when it comes to flow diagrams, so it makes my brain flow a bit better. So obviously the initial injury occurs, and our first priority is to visit the athletic trainer as soon as possible in the day, or whether that's after training, or actually if the injury is severe enough, to go see the trainer straight away and stop practicing. After that, obviously the player is then evaluated, and then we look at 3 levels of our injuries. Okay, so the athletic trainer may recommend in-house treatment for the trainers, and they might provide guidelines for more of an acute injury management. So this could be anything from a bruise to a mild strain or something like that, where the treatment of the injury can be mitigated, and they can return back to playing immediately if they deem appropriate. Okay, the level 2 that we look at is the athletic trainer refers the player and parents to seek further evaluation and aid the assessment, recovery, and rehabilitative setting with Cora physical therapy. Now, these are the more of the strains. Maybe it is a strain or a sprain, and we don't believe there's any need for further evaluation in terms of imaging, x-raying, MRI, etc. Level 3 is where we actually progress it to Nemours. This is where the athletic trainer will then speak directly to Dr. Rush and his team, as well as the parents and the player, to seek further assessment with the doctors over at Nemours. After both of these 2 levels, both level 2 and 3, our expectation is that the players do check back in with the athletic trainer before they can return back to play. And this typically would look at very, very briefly in terms of assessment, a strength test, pain tolerance, anything like that. This is a bit out of my wheelhouse, so I don't want to talk in the medical terminology, but this is now the process. After that, the player is now released to the JFC coach or the sports science coach, if you're working with the MLS, to be building up into now the conditioning needs to go back into the game and return back to practice and competition. Okay, so obviously there's multiple steps that are aligned there, but our big takeaways is as soon as an injury occurs, they have to be evaluated by the trainer. From there could be obviously multiple things that happen, but before returning to play, and obviously speaking to the coach, they have to get re-evaluated again by that athletic trainer in order for them to give the go-ahead to go back into play. This is a massive thing that we probably saw early in the 2020-2021 season, where we were bypassing this step here in phase 3, where the player would revisit the trainer, and then another injury would occur with that same player. So we want to obviously mitigate all of those causes, because even though the trainer may hold you out a portion of practice, a day extra of practice, or anything like that, they obviously know the medical needs, and obviously we want to put the safety of the players first before jumping back into practice or playing. Okay. So as I progress here, again, this is going to be the chunk or the bulk of today's webinar, and we're talking about the athlete incident management system that we have in place. Now, obviously, this is something that is operating in the cloud, and something that can sometimes be a bit ambiguous at times. But what it essentially is doing, and each player from the U11s, pre-MLS2 and up all the way to U19s MLS1, across the 2 tiers, is that every player is registered within the system. And I won't give away Miss Jenny's thunder here. She's going to walk you through the steps of registering your parental account, so you do get notifications as well. So essentially, we wanted to streamline communication. We wanted accountability between obviously all of the stakeholders that you see here on the page. We wanted to put the safety of the player at obviously the forefront of our decision making, and we also wanted to naturally prioritize confidentiality. Okay, so obviously the player at the center of everything, but it should be a cycle, and obviously everyone should be on the same page. And what AIMS does for us is able to streamline that communication to all parties without it being a case of Chinese whispers. So that's essentially what our purpose around investing in AIMS was with the club, and it's been a real pleasure to work with the guys for the last 9 months, and we've seen some fantastic cases of the system working in itself. Now, our aim is to keep everyone kind of healthy and out of the system, but inevitably injuries do occur, and we see the benefits of this platform. So without further ado, what I'm going to do, I'm going to hand the reins over to Miss Jenny Samer. She is our account manager and expert in all things AIMS, and she's going to give you guys a bit of an overview of the basic fundamentals of registering your account as a parent for your player, and then how we can utilize it. And obviously, as we grow as a club and as a department, we want to gain that as much feedback from you guys as possible in order to optimize this process as well.
Thank you so much, Jack. Appreciate you having me, and thank you to all the parents who are hopping on here on a Friday evening. I am Jenny, as Jack introduced, and I will keep this very brief and basic, just so we hit all the major points that are relevant for you guys as parents. The first thing that's going to happen is, as soon as we're finished with this call, I'm going to go ahead and have the system generate your registration emails. So that's going to be an invitation to register, and it is going to come from Injure Free. AIMS is powered by Injure Free, so they really go hand in hand. So don't be deterred by the name Injure Free when we're referring to AIMS. They're really interchangeable. So like I said, when this call ends, you have an action item. You can immediately go ahead and check your email for the registration invitation. I'm going to go ahead and share my screen. Jack, I think you need to stop sharing yours first. There we go. Perfect. Okay. Thank you. Okay. So when you receive, can everyone see this? We're okay?
Yeah.
Cool, thank you. So you'll get that invitation to register and it's gonna have a link in there to go ahead and click. That's gonna prompt you to create a password and then you are going to have your account. This is what your home screen is going to look like. The other thing that'll happen when you're first logging in, it's going to prompt you to connect to your child. You are going to enter your child's last name and date of birth. Just as a heads up, when we collected rosters, there were some date of births that were missing. So if this happens to be the case for you, go ahead and reach out to us at support. Our contact information will be in the registration email that you receive. But just to give it to you now, it's also support@usysames.org. support@usysames.org. I'll go ahead and throw that in the chat in a minute. But if you have an issue where it says anything along the lines of your child's date of birth is incorrect or the last name does not match, reach out to us and we'll rectify that right away so you can get your account registered. Just wanted to throw that out there because I did notice that that field was missing for some of the athletes. Once that's all squared away, like I said, this is the home screen you're going to see. It is very simple. It's going to list the family members. In this case, I am Rachel Green and Anders Lee is my child. This has him showed as not cleared. So in the event that your athlete has sustained an injury that puts them in the not cleared status, their name is going to show up in red. For any incident reports that have happened to your child, you can go ahead and click here on incident reports, and those reports are going to populate for you to go in and take a look at the details, whatever was collected from the trainer on the field. That's all housed in here, and you can click into anyone at any time. We don't really have to go through that right now. It's pretty self-explanatory. As far as what you're doing inside the platform, this is really it. The main thing, like Jack touched on, that we want enabled is this is going to allow for email notifications to come directly to you anytime your athlete has sustained an incident or there's been an update to a report that's been created for your child. It keeps everybody in the loop. I know that last time we were working with this, some parents hadn't completed their registration, so they weren't receiving email notifications. We want the communication to be full circle. So this is what's going to allow for that. That's really it. Like I said, I want to keep it brief and to the point. This is the system. If you have any problems at all, I really encourage you to reach out to us at support. Like I said, I'll throw our information in the chat. We're pretty much around the clock. You don't have to go to Jack for stuff that's related to troubleshooting the platform or, like I said, date of birth, last name issues. If you want to update your email address, that's another thing we can easily accomplish. Just go ahead and reach out to us and we'll help you with whatever you need. So if there are questions, please go ahead and fire away. That's all I have. I will hand it back over to Jack. Thank you for throwing the support email in there for me.
You're welcome. Thank you, Jenny. I know, guys, we flew through this evening's presentation. With that being said, we do hope in getting another one on the books probably around Thanksgiving time to obviously check in with you guys and see if we can enhance and optimize our processes around especially the injury reporting and the incident management stuff. If you do have any questions, and I want to be cognizant of everyone's time this evening, what I will do as well, I'll shoot my email into the chat, and then if you do have any questions or concerns, please reach out to me directly, and then that might be a really good idea to get back to you directly with the specifics. So I know Coach Danny's on here. I don't know if there's any other coaches that have joined us, but guys, if you know anything that I've missed for your respective groups, please jump in now. And other than that, that's.
I think thanks, Jack, and thank you, Jenny, for everything you presented tonight. If just a reminder, if you are injured and you are in a protocol for coming back and we get rained out or practice is canceled, you still need to go through that protocol. We had a player that was diagnosed concussion last week and we got rained out. He went through he was going to go through the 5-step process. And obviously since we were rained out, he didn't go. So just make sure, even though the fields are closed, the trainers are still there to take you through and finish that process, whether it's a soft tissue injury, whether it's a concussion. So just heads up for that.
Perfect. Thank you, Danny. Well, guys, I know I threw a lot of information at you guys very quickly, but again, I think the biggest takeaway for this evening is Jenny's actionable item of checking your email. Sometimes they do end up in your junk, so double check that as well. Register yourself and obviously connect to your player and your respective child, and then enable your email notifications so you are aware of everything that does happen, to keep you guys as up to date as possible. But other than that, I really appreciate you guys jumping on a Friday evening, giving up your time. I know a couple of parents have been on a couple of workshops tonight, so I will relieve you for your duties, and I look forward to seeing you at the park over this weekend. So have a great evening. Thank you for your time again, and we'll speak to you soon.
Thanks, Coach. Great job.
Thanks, Coach.